Good afternoon, Sakelanders. How are you? Today is Friday, the 25th of November. It's about, could it be going on for 6? It's 17:51, 9 minutes to 6 p.m. The week is almost over. I want to continue the tale that I told in the video about Janusz Walusz. I alluded in that video, basically the conclusion of the video is that it would make sense that Jacob Zuma's daughter would appeal for people to clean their rifles in anticipation of the release of Janusz Walusz, implying that he must be assassinated, because there is an argument that if Janusz Walusz tells the true story of what occurred surrounding the assassination of Chris Hani, such as I know the story, which is not to say that I know best, but what I know from two fairly clued up sources. And it is a version that makes a hang of a lot more sense than the official narrative. And I mentioned in passing that it has some comparability, this whole big Janusz Walusz. Oh, hang on, I didn't complete my sentence, I beg your pardon. That the implications for the Zuma family would not be good if the truth came out. Because at the time, according to this version of the story that I know, Jacob Zuma was the head of intelligence of the ANC, therefore he would know. He would have had to have known. Reasonably speaking, he knew that Chris Hani was taken out so as to avert a bloody revolution in South Africa, for reasons that a liberal, a black woman, an African National Congresswoman, explained to me in reasons of venality. She, to her credit, was not saying, we didn't want bloodshed. She was saying the old men were desperate to get some of the good life. And they didn't want it all to be ruined by a revolution that would take years to prosecute, and against which the South African government could prosecute a defense for 4 years. And I described how a very good authority revealed that the understanding was that the state of South Africa, apartheid South Africa, would be able to hold out for 10 years. That they would lose eventually, and I know that no right-winger wants to hear that, but that was the assessment by certain very clever people. Rightly or wrongly. Would lose eventually, but there would be a 10-year delay in getting, in the new South Africa, getting its hands on the loot. Nobody wanted to wait that long. And secondly, there would be nothing left. Everything would be destroyed in the process. Or much would. But the words that were told to me were there would be nothing left. Or there would have been nothing left. Exactly those words. Either in the future imperfect or past perfect tense. And I alluded to how there are parallels to the story of the attacks on the World Trade Center, the 4 flights, if you believe that there were 4. Personally, I don't believe that there were 4. Of the 11th of September 1991. 2001. I'm just going to pause here and have a sip of something. I need to top up my water. I'll be back in a second. So the similarity, if I'm picking up at the right point, my apologies if I messed this up a little bit. The similarity, I alluded to the similarity between that story and the 911 story. The similarity lies here. the vast majority of conservative white South Africans believe that for better or for worse, if I believed what they believe, I would say it's for worse. That it was a stupid idea to assassinate Chris Hani. Nothing short of stupid. I have met Janusz Walusz. I met him in prison. And he's a delightful man. My heart went out to him so much. And he said one of the most powerful things that anybody has ever said to me. Nevertheless, like him as much as I do, in my opinion, superficially speaking now, never mind the rest of the deeper story, superficially speaking, if I was just a typical conservative who didn't know any better, I would still say it was damn stupid. But regardless of me versus you, what we agree with, in simple terms, most conservatives, or almost all conservatives, believe that these guys did this thing out of the goodness of their hearts, out of hatred for Bolshevism, for Satanism-inspired Bolshevism, and we've discussed the connection between Satanism and Bolshevism many times. The demonstrable connection. Okay. Black people would say a hero of our struggle was brutally murdered by vicious, racist white men. Whereas those in the know would say it was a plot between the apartheid government and the ANC to get rid of him so as to prevent a bloody revolution for their own reasons each. Right, now, 911. Most Arabs probably believe that Al-Qaeda conducted a genius and heroic exercise operation in striking a blow against the great Satan and implicitly against Zionism, because there's a very strong connection in many of their minds. Typical Americans would say those evil Arabs came here and broke down two of the great edifices of the wonder that is the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world. And both would be like the Janusz Walusz scenario, completely wrong. Why? Because there are infinite pieces of evidence that contradict the mainstream narrative of the 911 attacks, but there is one salient piece of evidence. By the mouths of the people concerned, that makes it incontrovertible, without controversy, irrefutable, that at the very least, the state of Israel knew that the events were going to take place, the attacks, and didn't warn anybody, or at the very worst, they were the hidden hand. They were the hand of the puppet master, like supposedly through some handlers or agents or operators or whatever, Janusz Walusz and his accomplice Clive Derby-Lewis were played like puppets to do something that they saw one way and black people and conservatives saw a certain way, but which is not at all a reflection of the truth. And ultimately they were serving quite different masters than they thought that they were. And the piece of evidence in relation to 911 is the dancing Israelis. Now, around the dancing Israelis, if you go and have a good look, and you do good quality research, you'll discover that there are other pieces of perhaps not hard conclusive evidence, but supporting clues. Hard conclusive evidence, let's say, that do not amount to hard proof, and may even be sketchy as evidence goes, but at the very least are clues. Okay, so it all comes down to one series of events under the umbrella term the dancing Israelis. And I think what we're going to do is split this into two parts. Okie dokes, I'll number them carefully. I'm just thinking to myself about certain facts and figures and how deeply I'm going to go and how deep down the rabbit hole. So let's make this one part and there'll be a follow-up. Thanks. Oh, dear me, I broke a tooth and I just bit my tongue with the sharp edge. Goodbye and God bless all of you. Cheerio.